Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today we are going to do the first bit of decorating of this very cute little journal. This is the cover I made. I didn't film this, but I have got a video up. I did it a couple of weeks ago where I made this very easy little journal, which I have to do as a swap for a group that I'm in. I have decided I'm going to do all the decorating, then I'm going to attach it into this cover. I have put a link in this video on how I made this cover, just in case you want a beautiful book cover that looks something like that. But it's time to start decorating. And of course, I've been procrastinating. Couldn't decide what to start with. Like, this should be quite a simple process for me. I have made 20,000 trillion bits of ephemera over my life, but I just couldn't decide what to start with. But then Tracie Fox Creative, who I'm sure most of you will probably know of and or follow, has a little monthly challenge that she does, and she provides great little freebies so you can do the challenge. And this month, the month of July, it's book related. And I went, you know what? I'm going to get this little mini kit that she's given away. You can go to Tracie Fox Creative and follow the links down in her latest videos so you can get these pieces too. So what I'm going to do is show you what this little kit entails, and then we're going to make some fun stuff. So printed off the first page. Now, I have chosen to print this on matte photo paper because I wanted it to look really nice and vibrant. And I was going to print all the bits off, printed the first page and went, oops, I have a problem. This is it printed at normal size, and it's a little big. So I thought, right, we need to make this a little bit smaller. So I may very well cut this up and use this later on. Let's wait and see how my little plan comes into play. So it won't go to waste. I just want to show you something too. You know, I said I've printed this on matte photo paper. This because then I started mucking around with sizes, and what I did do, I changed my printer settings to print at A5 size piece of paper instead of A4. So that basically halved it, and I think this obviously is going to be a much more acceptable size. But I just want to show you the difference. Now, I don't know what this bit of, that grubby bit is there, but I don't like that. I know normal copy paper is very cheap, and for most people it's incredibly accessible, but I just want to show you the difference. So as I said, I was mucking around and I forgot to put a piece of matte photo paper in my printer, and this is printed on normal El Cheapo, I think this is Kodak copy paper. I reprinted it on matte photo paper. Can you see the difference? The difference in colours and vibrancy. So depending on what you're printing out, if you want to really appreciate the detail on things, investing in better paper. Now, I have matte photo paper. I also have Kodak presentation paper, which prints as bright and wonderful as this. But in this case, because what I want to build with this, I want it to have a bit more stability, I decided to go with the matte photo paper. But I just wanted to show you this difference. So if you're looking at things you're printing out and you're thinking, oh, this does look a bit bland, investing in better paper for a better outcome can definitely be worthwhile. I just thought I'd throw that bit of information in there. So this was the week 1 freebie. This is designed obviously to be cut out. This folded over and turned into a pocket tag style arrangement. The next sheet. This was week 2. And if you watch her videos, Tracie did a beautiful job. She printed them multiple times and made all sorts of little pockets and things and It's absolutely fabulous. I've got a different plan, which we will get to, but I just want to show you what we're working with. So this was week 2. Then this is week 3's printable. We've got a little pocket, and then we've got ephemera pieces. These are people reading, so it's going with the book theme. And then we can layer these up on here if we want. I'm not sure yet, but I'm hatching a plan. And then this is the last week's freebie. This is like a little notebook cover. There's little library cards and a book and all sorts of fun bits. And then a little bonus, which is it's a light florally arrangement. I've printed this on normal copy paper, and all will be revealed shortly. But I've decided I think I'm going to print on the other side before I start making. So I will do that. I'm also going to go and cut all these pieces up. I'm going to ink the edges, but you do not need to watch me doing that. You will be bored stupid. So when I have got everything ready to play, I will be back and we're going to make something fun for my little journal. All my bits are cut out. Everything's been inked around the edges, and this time I used brush corduroy. And the reason why I picked it is a lot of the pieces have this sort of yellow orangey tinge to it, and I find brushed corduroy sort of has that undertone as well. So when I see things like that, that's how I pick the colour I use for my edges. Even though it doesn't matter, use Vintage Photo or whichever one you've got, but that's the one I have used. So this in front of me here, this was the freebie page provided by Tracie Fox, but I have printed on the reverse side with a simple old paper looking arrangement. I liked the colour tones of this. I thought it went with the whole theme that we're playing with. And now we need to get started. So what I was intending to do, now this is meant to be a pocket, right? You create that and you fill it full of goodies, and that's that. But I've decided I want to do something a little bit different. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to glue this down onto here, and I will explain it all as we're going along. Grabbing my glue stick, just putting a nice coverage of glue here, making sure especially I get good coverage around the edges because we're attaching it to another piece of paper and I don't want it to peel up. And I'm going to, actually, I might just do this sideways just so I can clearly see. I'm not going to go right up to the edge. I'd rather trim off that edge, but what I want to try and do is get this lined up nicely on one of these lines so that it's pretty straight. There we go. And then I'll just grab a card and give that a burnish. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to flip this over and I'm going to glue this pocket down as a pocket. So we're just going to attach a little bit of glue all the way along here. Because if I glued this straight down, it would no longer be a pocket, and I want it to be a pocket. So that goes on there, and then we press that down. I don't need to add extra glue down here. This is solid against this piece, so we're all good. Now, let me just pop the lid on this for a minute. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue our next bit down here. So what I'm trying to do, I'm going to create a trifold arrangement. So flip my paper over. I like flipping my paper over so that any excess glue doesn't end up attaching to this. So I like to pick a dry spot, so to speak, when I'm gluing the next bit, because then otherwise sometimes you end up with, you know, a little bit of glue that's left over, and it may damage your beautiful prints and patterns. So always grab a nice clean piece to do the next bit. I'm going to flip this around again, and I'm going to leave the tiniest little space. Maybe that's no, that should do the job nicely, just so that when it flips over I can burnish it and it will flip flat, and not I didn't want it right up the edge and then it sort of struggles to trifold over. There we go. So just going to give this a little bit of time to dry, and then I'm going to trim it all off, and we're going to do some decorating. Right, so my trifold base is complete and ready to go. All I did was cut out a rectangle. I kept this here so that my pocket has some backing. I think it'd be perfectly all right if you cut it down there and had it at a different size, but I'm happy with this. And I, of course, had printed these lines on the back. Flip it over. I've inked all my edges, and I've put a big capital B here, meaning base, so that when I flip this over and I'm adding some deco to these, to make sure I do them in the right direction, I've put this big B here because this bit is going to get glued down into the journal. So it doesn't matter that there's a big fat B there. Nobody's going to see that, but at least I won't accidentally put my pockets on upside down or do something ridiculous like that. So now we can start adding some deco. So the very first thing I'm going to do, remember how I showed you at the beginning that I printed the first page and it was giant? I'm putting quite a bit of that to good use here. And the very first thing I'm going to do with that is create a belly band. Now, when Tracie did hers, she put a pocket on here, but I love all this stuff. I don't really want to cover it all up. So I thought, for starters, we're going to add a little belly band. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be quite miserly with my glue. I mean, obviously I want it to stick, but I don't want to reduce the width of my belly band. You'll see shortly why. So just a few little dots. Might just get rid of that big one there. I don't want that. We're trying to make sure we have maximum space available here. And I liked the idea. I know even though once the piece of ephemera is in here, you will sort of not see this, but you might see some of that little circle popping out from the side. So we've sort of got the two matching, and I cut down around it to leave that there. So that's the first bit we're going to add. Then we're going to flip this over, and this is an image of a book, which I'm going to create a little tuck spot with. So I'm just going to glue that down there. So I want to flip this over and hold this here so that I glue in the correct zone. And I'm quite happy to leave some of that. Doesn't have to go right down on the edge. Happy to have this little bit of lighter border for the dark book. That's that one there. Now, the next bit, I'm going to create another little tuck spot with this, but I felt this sort of, I don't know, it needed a little bit of something. So I've got a very roughly a sort of a coffee, it's coffee dyed, but it's nice and bodgy, and I like all the different shades. So we're going to glue that down just to create a little bit of interest on the back here, because this is like a sort of a florally print, not a booky print. So I'm going all out book page mode here. And And what we're going to do is we're going to simply glue this on here and just create a little bit of interest behind my tuck spot. And then I'm going to put my fingers here because I want a side tuck for this one. So I don't want any glue on that edge. And we're going to pop that down there. And of course we have left this open. There we go. So now let's make some goodies to put into this part. So the very first thing we're going to do, we've made our little tuck spot here, and then this little notebook printable is part of the kit. So all I've done is grabbed some little scraps of lined paper, and I'm going to very quickly sew this into here. So what I do need is a clip, just remember. So score your paper over so you get a really nice neat fold, and then clip it up just so that it holds it in place. This is only a few pages. It's just a little notebook. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then I'm going to use my pokey tool to create a couple of holes, sort of try and keep them pretty even, but it doesn't have to be too perfect. And then just use your pokey tool to make a nice decent size hole, because whenever I do anything with a journal that involves thread, I use DMC embroidery thread or one of the cheaper versions. Sometimes I have some colours in that. And so you need a needle with quite a big hole so that you can actually thread all 6 strands through, because I don't like doing it too thin, because otherwise it doesn't have any strength. So now we'll just feed this through and then get this relatively even. Get rid of my clip. I don't need that now. And then I'm just going to tie this up. You could staple it. You could even just glue some pages in. But for fun, I decided to very quickly sew this one up. Can we make a... Do I want a bow or do I just want a knot? Well, how about we try and get a knot done first and see if I've allowed enough thread for a bow. Oh, it's times like this you wish you had 3 hands, honestly. It could be so handy. There we go. Actually, no, I'm just going to leave it like that, because it's not that long. So let's grab some scissors and we're just going to trim that off like that. And now we've got a cute little notebook, and that is going in my little tuck spot here. So you can see why I didn't want too much glue coming in, because otherwise this guy would not have fitted. And I'm going to just nudge it over to the left because I want to see that little hint of circle. I just think it all goes together very nicely. Then the next thing we have in this center pocket, this is a tag. This was part of the kit. There was also this very cute butterfly, and I sort of couldn't really figure out where I was going to fit a butterfly into this whole book theme thing. But I decided if we just put a little bit of glue down here, just get rid of a little bit of that excess. It came out a bit too blobby for my liking. And because we have these beautiful flowers on here, I'm going to turn this butterfly into a tab. There we go. Now just make sure I've got no glue sticking out there. And that goes in our pocket. And it will stick out the top, which of course is rather cute. For the moment, I'm going to leave this. I might add something to this in a minute, but just for now, I am not. Then I have this cute little little tabs here. I have a plan for one of them, but I didn't for this second one, but I've decided what I'm going to do with it now. So we're just going to add a little bit of glue there. And then I want this to go up here. So added that little tab. So now this is what it will look like when it sits in the journal. I've decided I'm not wrapped in this. I think we need to get rid of the excess white, and I think the easiest way to do that is to pull this out. Just grab my bit of magazine here. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to add some ink because I don't like that bright white there. The rest you can't see, but this you definitely can. Don't like that. I want it to be a better match, and I think that is the quickest and easiest way to solve that dilemma. So now we can put this back. Right, fold this back. Ah, that's better. That not perfect. Might even still come up with a plan for that, but for now that will do. Now we have to make our goodies for here. So the first thing we're going to do is grab these two pieces here. Gorgeous florals, and with the dark book, you know, being quite plain, I think these two sticking out here will look absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to use these two photos that were part of the kit. Why is my glue spitting out everywhere? That normally only happens in the hot weather, and my golly gosh, it's not hot here at the moment. 6 degrees this morning, and I tell you what, for southeast Queensland, that is a little chilly for my liking. So we're just going to pop these on here very simply. Same again with this one. I was going to put little bits of fabric or something underneath it, but I thought, look, this is already going to be quite a bulky arrangement that we need to pare back, not add on too much, because we just end up with so many. It's going to be so fat. So I'm keeping it simple. And thankfully there's quite a little light bit around these photos, so you can definitely still see them. And then I of course had a little bit of, I'm trying to pick these things up. I had a little bit of paper left over from where I cut out my frame. And so I've just cut 2 little strips, and I realised I need to ink this edge and this one. And I'm just using this little scrap to create a little tab for each of these tags. Again, we're trying to do things without creating any more bulk than necessary. Just hold that down there just for a second, and then we can do exactly the same with this one. I don't really know why I'm doing the back. No need really, but that's okay. All right. Doesn't get much easier than that. And I like this lighter colour with all the darkness. And then those slip in there. And I'm happy for them to go in like that. So, you know, we fill up some space. But I think that looks really cute. Now, for this little tuck spot here, these three, I think these two are actually joined together. But I decided to split them and make it into 3 because of the size that I have to work with. Now, we have one more tab here. So we're going to use one of these over here. And what I'm doing is creating some little side bits for these. Now, one of these goes, I've got to make sure I get these the right way around. So I want this one quite central. Okay, that's that little tab done. And then also in the kit were these two tiny little labels. So what I'm going to do is very gently, again, we're going to be a little bit scummy with glue because we don't want it spilling out everywhere. And I'm going to put this one sort of at the top, almost. And that can be the little tab for that one. And again, exactly the same thing with this one. Just a little bit of glue on one side. And we're going to put this one down the bottom. So we're creating a trio of three little tiny things to put in our tuck spot. And then we are going to layer them like that. How cute is that? Can we just get that one up there a bit? There we go. And we are going to tuck those in here. And I won't stick them in fully. I'm happy to see a little bit of that. Could even almost, no, I might pull that one down a little bit later, but I'll let the glue dry first. So there we've got three cute little tabs sticking out of our side tuck. Then I forgot there was something else to go here. I've cut a corner off the large page that I printed and couldn't use. I decided I need to try and use some of that up. So we're going to create a very cute little corner tuck down here. It's the same pattern, and even though it's larger, that's okay. And I also didn't want to completely lose that word, the library, even though when I put my tags in there, you'll probably not see it, but that's okay. And then we have these two that were just like this in the kit. So what I did, again, with the bit that I had, my extra large bit, I've cut out these little numbers, and I'm going to make cute little tabs with those by just sticking them on the top. And again, just making sure I put the glue with the numbers the right way up. It was lucky because I didn't check that one, but we're all good. There we go. Now, just one extra little bit I want to do here. This is a little part of a label, again, from that big sheet that I was not able to use. I've just cut it up into all sorts of little pieces for this. And I'm going to put this across here. And I've got these tiny little bits that I've cut out, and I'm thinking we might just add that in somewhere. I'll tell you what, these pieces are getting smaller and smaller. Would have been easier if my journal had have been bigger. I wouldn't have had to worry, but it's okay. We might just pop that there. And then we have these cute tiny little tags. They can duck in there. Now, I'm also going to have, I've got, what we might do, I might just stick that one there because I'm trying to work out how to, I'm trying to use everything up, but we'll see. of course, if that ends up happening. But we're just going to glue that one in there. A little bit of layering. And that is complete. And that is now complete. And so now we have our very cute little trifold full of all sorts of goodies. Then, of course, it's... all right, that's all very nice. But if I just add this to my journal page, here is my journal. It's all very pretty, but it's just all a little bit bland. It's not quite right. And I think I've decided that each thing that I do for this journal is going to be 2 pages, and then it'll tell a little story. So I ummed and ahed about how I could combine all this together. So what I did exactly the same thing. I just cut out bits that I liked from the large one that I couldn't use. So we're going to start with this piece, and I'm just going to glue this down over on the other side here. And we're just going to create some interest. So we're going to do a bit of a layering, pockety sort of arrangement. So there's our first piece down. It's a little bit crooked. Oh, well, never mind. It'll look very crooked by the time I finished. So then the next bit here is going sort of something like this. So all I want to do is add a strip of glue down here. So this joins it to the bit before, and I'm just going to put a couple of little dots down the bottom. So I'm sort of creating like a layered pocket. So we sort of have to keep all of this unstuck. So let's just pop that down. So like right now, that's like a tuck spot. So we're going to do the same. This is another piece. I absolutely loved this clip. So I thought, right, that's definitely got to be part of this journal. So we're going to do the same thing again. We just want to glue these bits together and just a little bit down the bottom. So we're creating an envelope, a sort of a pocket arrangement. And if we get it right, we'll be able to stick something in it. And what I'm doing, you see, I'm not gluing down all these top bits. Now, this was a pocket with, you know, the little bits attached so you can create a pocket with space. I've trimmed them off because I didn't want the bulk. And we're going to do the same thing again, except I just want glue here and here. Actually, no, I can do all 3 here because we're sort of right at the edge with this now. That's actually probably not the worst idea. Then we're going to pop this down here. And it's okay because we've still got the top open, but it's actually not going to matter with this piece all the way down here. You'll see in a minute what I mean. Now, I cut out the word the library because this is a book theme journal and this is all about anything booky is going to get a prominent position. And that can go down, where do I want that? Don't want to hide all that layer. Oh, I'm not covering that up either. Okay, that's okay. We're going to pop this down here. That won't affect the pocket at all. And then to help combine this from page A to page B, we are going to glue this bit down. And I've realised something else I have to do. That's okay. And then this tiny little notes thing can go right down over the edge. So now, can you see I've got the whole story combined over both pages? Pardon me. And in this pocket, I had this in my stash. I decided I put it into a folder of things I may use for this journal. And look, I've created a layered pocket Perfect, and that sits there. I liked the lighter colour so that we had some contrast. Now, just one thing we've got to do quickly. This here, I wanted to... Oh, I've got to pick it up first. We're going the long way around here. I want this book log on my little notebook thing here. I want that in there. So that's like a little book to log down your reading, and then we can just gently nudge that back down into there. And it is ready to go into the journal. So there's my big B so that I didn't end up in a mess. And this is just, I was going to make another tuck spot with this, but I went, look, I think we're bulky enough. And I've actually used up everything that was in the kit, including the extra page that I had printed out. And now I'm going to pop that over to the side. I want it just low enough so that that butterfly doesn't poke out the edge, mainly because it's only quite thin. It's not thick enough to cope with life outside. There we go. So we now have our cute little trifold, all full of pretty little bits and pieces, and a little pocket made out of scraps. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments box below. Happy to help out. If you could give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this make. And have a go. Go and grab this freebie and do this for yourself. It's a beautiful little kit, and I just love what we've made. It's so cute. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.